Growing up as twins in the Patterson family should have meant equality. Instead, it meant I got to watch my sister Harper receive everything while I faded into the background. We were identical twins, same face, same height, same DNA. But from the moment we could talk, our parents treated us like we were from different species. Harper was outgoing, charming, the life of every party. I was quiet, bookish, more interested in numbers than people. By the time we were 10, the roles were cemented. Harper was the golden child. I was the responsible one who made sure Harper looked good. Our grandfather, William Patterson, had built something remarkable in Colorado. He'd started buying rental properties in Boulder in the 1980s when prices were still reasonable. By the time I was born, he owned 6 properties, 3 single-family homes near the university, 2 duplexes in downtown Boulder, and a small apartment building with 8 units. Total portfolio value by 2018, approximately $3.8 million. Monthly rental income, $24,000. Grandpa Will ran everything himself until his health started failing in 2016. He was 83, still sharp as a tack mentally, but his body was giving out. Someone needed to take over the day-to-day management. Harper volunteered immediately. "I'll do it," she announced at a family dinner. "I've always been interested in real estate." She'd never mentioned real estate before in her life. But she was enthusiastic and confident, and Mom and Dad beamed with pride at her initiative. I was finishing my accounting degree at CU Boulder at the time, commuting from home to save money. I'd offered to help Grandpa with the properties multiple times. I'd already been doing his bookkeeping for 2 years, organizing his receipts, preparing financial statements. But when Harper volunteered, everyone assumed she'd be better at the people parts of property management. I could help with the boring number stuff. So that's what happened. Harper became the official property manager. She collected rent, dealt with tenants, coordinated repairs. She got paid $3,000 a month for the work, which she told everyone was barely covering her time. I did the actual accounting for free, because I was the dutiful daughter, the one who helped without being asked, the one nobody thanked. At first, things seemed fine. Harper would text me photos of rent checks. She'd forward me receipts for repairs. The numbers mostly added up, though her record-keeping was sloppy, and I often had to chase her down for missing documentation. But I trusted her. She was my twin sister. We'd shared a womb. Surely she wouldn't steal from our own grandfather. I was wrong. The first red flag came in early 2017. I was reconciling Grandpa's accounts and noticed that the rent from the apartment building, which should have been $8,000 a month from 8 units, was consistently coming in around $5,500. I asked Harper about it. "Oh, 3 units are vacant," she said casually. "The market's really soft right now." That didn't make sense. Boulder's rental market was booming. But she was the property manager. She'd know better than me, right? Wrong again. In June 2017, I drove by the apartment building after class. All 8 units had cars in the parking spaces. Curtains in the windows. Lights on. Nobody vacates an apartment and leaves their furniture and lives there. I started digging deeper. I pulled public records. I cross-referenced utility accounts. I created spreadsheets tracking every payment against every property. The picture that emerged made me sick. Harper had been systematically stealing from Grandpa for over a year. She was collecting full rent from all tenants, $24,000 a month across all 6 properties, but only depositing about $16,000 into Grandpa's account. The missing $8,000 each month was going straight into her personal checking account. That's $96,000 a year. Over 18 months, she'd stolen approximately $144,000. But I couldn't prove it yet. I needed real evidence, not just my suspicions and circumstantial records.
So, I went to Grandpa.
He was in his recliner, watching the news, when I sat down beside him with my laptop. "Grandpa, I need to show you something," I said quietly. I walked him through everything. The missing rent payments, the phantom vacancies, the discrepancies between what tenants were paying and what was being deposited. His face got harder and harder as I explained. When I finished, he was silent for a long moment. "You're sure?" he finally asked. I'm 90% sure, I said. But to be 100% sure, we'd need to hire a forensic accountant to conduct a formal investigation. Do it, Grandpa said immediately. But don't tell anyone. Not your parents, not Harper. Just gather the evidence. When we have everything we need, then we'll act. I hired Christina Alvarez, a forensic accountant who came highly recommended. She was thorough, discreet, and merciless. Over 3 months, she subpoenaed bank records, interviewed tenants, tracked every payment, and documented every discrepancy. Her final report was devastating. Harper had stolen $187,000 over 22 months. She'd created fake invoices for repairs that never happened. She'd pocketed security deposits. She'd even charged Grandpa for property management software that didn't exist. But Christina recommended we wait. She's going to keep stealing, Christina said. Every month she continues is another month of documented crime. The bigger the number, the harder it is for her to claim it was a mistake. So we watched, and documented, and let Harper keep digging her own grave. By November 2018, the total theft had reached $267,000. That's when Grandpa made his decision. I'm transferring everything to you, he said one Sunday afternoon. All 6 properties. Through an irrevocable trust. Immediately. Grandpa. No arguments, he said firmly. You're the one who discovered the theft. You're the one who's been keeping the real books. You're the one I can trust. We met with his attorney, James Chen, in early December 2018. The irrevocable trust was established with me as the sole trustee and beneficiary. All 6 properties transferred immediately. County deeds were filed. Everything was legal, binding, and complete. Don't tell your sister yet, Grandpa said. I want to see what she does when she thinks she's getting everything. For the next 4 years, I lived a double life. Publicly, I was Mira Patterson, junior accountant at a Denver firm, making $68,000 a year. I lived in a modest apartment, drove a 7-year-old Subaru, dressed in clothes from Target. Privately, I owned a $3.8 million real estate portfolio generating $24,000 in monthly rent. Or rather, I owned it on paper while Harper continued to manage it and steal approximately $8,000 to $10,000 every month. By 2022, her total theft had exceeded $520,000. Christina and I documented every penny. We had bank records, tenant interviews, fake invoices, forged receipts. We had enough evidence to send Harper to prison for 5 to 7 years. But Grandpa wanted to wait for the perfect moment. She'll reveal herself, he said. Greed always does. Grandpa passed away in August 2023 at age 90. I held his hand as he took his last breath. His final words to me were, "Don't let her get away with it." I wouldn't. After Grandpa's funeral, Harper's behavior became even more brazen. She started talking openly about inheriting the properties and her plans to expand the portfolio. At family dinners, she'd hold court about real estate investment strategies, rental market trends, property management best practices. Mom and Dad would listen in awe, so proud of their entrepreneurial daughter. I'd sit quietly at the other end of the table, saying nothing. What they didn't know, I'd been the actual owner for nearly 5 years. I'd been receiving detailed monthly reports from Christina, tracking every theft, documenting every crime. I'd been working with a real estate attorney to prepare for the eventual confrontation. And I'd been quietly improving the properties. Using my own money because I wouldn't touch the stolen funds, I'd renovated 2 of the single-family homes. Updated kitchens, new flooring, fresh paint. I'd coordinated everything through contractors who reported directly to me, not Harper. The properties were now worth $4.6 million. The monthly rental income had increased to $28,000. After legitimate expenses, the portfolio was netting $215,000 annually. All of it legally mine.
None of it known to my family.
Harper, meanwhile, was living large. She'd bought a new Audi. She'd moved into a luxury apartment in downtown Denver that cost $3,500 a month. She posted constantly on Instagram about brunches, shopping trips, spa days. Everyone thought she was successful. A thriving property manager with a great career. I knew the truth. She was a thief living on stolen money. In October 2023, Mom called me. "We need to have a family meeting at Thanksgiving," she said, "to discuss Grandpa's estate and the property transition to Harper." My stomach clenched. This was it. The moment Grandpa had predicted. "I'll be there," I said simply. I immediately called Christina. "It's happening. Thanksgiving. Can you be ready?" "I've been ready for 4 years," Christina said. "I'll have the full forensic report prepared. Every transaction, every theft, every piece of evidence. It'll be irrefutable." Over the next month, Christina finalized her report. It was 247 pages long, meticulously documented, with bank statements, tenant affidavits, canceled checks, and timeline analyses. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Total documented theft, $537,000 over 73 months. I also worked with James Chen to prepare the trust documents, property deeds, and legal briefs explaining exactly why I was the rightful owner and why any challenge would fail immediately. The night before Thanksgiving, I couldn't sleep. I knew what was coming. The confrontation, the shock, the anger, the destruction of family relationships that were probably already broken but we'd all been pretending were fine. But I thought about Grandpa's final words. "Don't let her get away with it." I wouldn't. Thanksgiving dinner at my parent house in Boulder was everything I dreaded. The table was set beautifully. The food smelled amazing. The family gathered: Mom, Dad, Harper, my aunt, and uncle, my 2 younger cousins. Everyone was in good spirits. Harper held court as usual, talking about her success, managing Grandpa's properties, dropping hints about her future plans. We made it through appetizers and salad before Mom stood up, tapping her wine glass for attention. "Before we eat the turkey, your father and I want to make an announcement," Mom said, smiling at Harper. Here we go, I thought. Dad stood up beside her. "As you all know, Dad passed away 3 months ago. We've been working with his attorney to settle the estate. The properties, all 6 rental properties in Boulder, are being transferred to Harper," Mom continued. "She's been managing them brilliantly for years. It's only right that she inherit them." Harper stood up, her face glowing with practice, surprise, and humility. "Mom, Dad, this is such an honor. I promise I'll take care of Grandpa's legacy." Everyone applauded. My aunt hugged Harper. My uncle shook her hand. My cousins cheered. Nobody looked at me. I was invisible, as usual. Then Harper turned to me, and her expression changed. The humility vanished, replaced by something sharper, crueler. "Mom and Dad agreed. All 6 Colorado properties go to me," she announced, her voice carrying across the table. "You've contributed nothing." The room went silent for a beat, shocked by the directness of the attack. Then everyone cheered. Mom beamed. Dad nodded approvingly. My aunt raised her glass. Even my younger cousins joined in, swept up in the moment. I sat perfectly still, hands folded in my lap, watching my twin sister claim an inheritance she'd spent 5 years stealing from. Harper wasn't done. She was enjoying this too much. I mean, let's be honest. I'm the one who's been doing all the work. Managing tenants, coordinating repairs, dealing with the day-to-day operations. Mira just what? Kept some spreadsheets. Light laughter around the table. Dismissive, casual. Because of course the quiet accountant sister was less important than the dynamic property manager. "Someone has to do the real work," Harper continued, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Not everyone is cut out for actual business. Some people are better suited to support roles." More laughter. Mom reached over and squeezed Harper's hand proudly. I pulled out my phone and made one call. "We're ready," I said quietly into the phone. "Coming now." 90 seconds later, the doorbell rang. Mom looked annoyed. Who could that be? "We're about to eat." I stood up smoothly. That would be my guest. I walked to the door and opened it. Christina Alvarez stood there in a sharp charcoal business suit, carrying a leather briefcase. She looked professional, serious, and slightly terrifying. "Good evening," Christina said pleasantly. "I apologize for the interruption." I stepped aside. She walked past me into the dining room, where my family sat frozen in various states of confusion. Christina set her briefcase on the sideboard and opened it with a precise click. She pulled out a thick-bound report and several file folders. "I'm the forensic accountant," Christina said, her voice calm and professional. "Shall I present the embezzlement report now?" Harper's face went from confused to pale to bright red in about 3 seconds. My sister started screaming. "What the hell is this?" Harper shrieked, standing up so violently her chair tipped backward.
Who are you?
"What embezzlement?" Christina's expression didn't change. "My name is Christina Alvarez. I'm a certified forensic accountant. I've been conducting an investigation into financial irregularities related to the Patterson rental property portfolio for the past 5 years." She opened the bound report to the first page. This investigation was commissioned by William Patterson in September 2017 and continued after his death at the request of the legal property owner. "Legal property owner?" Dad said sharply. "That's Harper." "Actually," Christina said calmly, "the legal owner of all 6 properties has been Mira Patterson since December 14, 2018. The properties were transferred to her through an irrevocable trust established by William Patterson." The room exploded. "That's impossible," Harper shouted. "That can't be right," Mom said at the same time. "I assure you it's correct," Christina said. She pulled out a stack of documents. "Here are the trust documents, properly executed and notarized. Here are the 6 property deeds, showing transfer from William Patterson to the Patterson Family Trust with Mira as sole trustee and beneficiary. All filed with Boulder County on December 14, 2018. She laid the documents on the table like evidence at a trial. James Chin stepped through the door behind Christina. I'd asked him to wait outside until the right moment.
Good evening.
"I'm James Chin, the attorney who drafted the trust for William Patterson. I can confirm everything Ms. Alvarez has said. The trust is legally binding and irrevocable. Mira has been the legal owner of these properties for nearly 5 years." Dad's face had gone completely white. 5 years? She's owned them for 5 years. "Yes," I said quietly. It was the first time I'd spoken since Christina arrived. "Grandpa transferred everything to me in December 2018. He did it because he discovered Harper was stealing from him." "Lies," Harper screamed. "You manipulative bitch. You convinced a senile old man to." William Patterson was evaluated by 2 independent physicians before executing the trust, James interrupted calmly. "Both certified him as mentally competent. Any claim of undue influence would fail immediately." Christina opened her forensic report. "Let's discuss the embezzlement. Over a period of 73 months, from March 2017 through March 2023, Harper Patterson systematically stole money from the rental property accounts." She began laying out evidence. Bank statements, spreadsheets, timeline analyses. The scheme was straightforward. Harper collected full rent from all tenants, but deposited only a portion into the property account. The remainder, typically $8,000 to $10,000 per month, went directly into her personal checking account. More documents hit the table. Highlighted bank deposits. Side-by-side comparisons. She also created fake invoices for repairs that never occurred. She charged for property management software that doesn't exist. She pocketed security deposits that should have been held in escrow. Christina's voice was clinical, detached, devastating. Total documented theft, $537,000. The number hung in the air like a bomb. Mom gasped. Dad looked like he might have a heart attack. My aunt's hand flew to her mouth. Harper was shaking, her face bright red. "That's not true. I was managing the properties. I was getting paid for legitimate work." "You were being paid $3,000 per month as property manager," Christina said. "That's documented and legitimate. The additional $8,000 to $10,000 per month you took was not." She pulled out more evidence. "Here are tenant affidavits. We interviewed all current and former tenants. They confirm they paid full rent every month. Here are their canceled checks and bank transfers. Every payment is documented." She laid out page after page. Tenant names, payment amounts,
Dates.
all of it proving that Harper had been collecting more money than she'd been reporting. Here are examples of fake invoices, Christina continued. This one claims $4,500 for roof repair on the Arapahoe property. We contacted the roofing company. They have no record of any such repair. The invoice number doesn't match their system. The signature is forged. More fake invoices hit the table. Plumbing repairs that never happened. Electrical work that was never performed.
Painting jobs that didn't exist.
And here, Christina said, pulling out another set of documents, are her personal bank statements showing luxury purchases made immediately after large deposits from the property accounts. A $6,000 purchase at Louis Vuitton. A $8,500 payment for a trip to Cabo. A $4,200 deposit toward the Audi lease. The evidence was overwhelming, undeniable, meticulously documented. Harper's legs seemed to give out. She collapsed back into her chair, her face sheet white. This is enough evidence, Christina said calmly, to pursue criminal charges for embezzlement, fraud, and theft. The district attorney has already been briefed. They're prepared to file charges if Mira decides to pursue prosecution. All eyes turned to me. I looked at Harper, my twin sister, my genetic mirror, who'd spent 5 years stealing from our grandfather and then tried to claim his life's work as her own inheritance. How could you? I asked quietly. He was our grandfather. He loved you. I needed the money, Harper shouted, desperation replacing defiance. Do you know how expensive it is to live in Denver? The apartment, the car, keeping up with friends. So you stole from an 80-year-old man? I interrupted, my voice harder now. You stole over $500,000 from Grandpa and then showed up to his funeral crying fake tears? It wasn't $500,000 at first, Harper protested. It started small, just a little extra each month because the property manager fee wasn't enough. And then I needed more, and it was so easy and nobody noticed. I noticed, I said flatly. I noticed in 2017.
I told Grandpa.
That's why he transferred everything to me. Because he knew you'd destroy what he built. Mom finally found her voice, and it was full of venom directed at the wrong person. You turned our father against his own granddaughter. You poisoned his mind. I showed him bank statements. I said, my voice cold. I showed him evidence. He made his own decision based on facts. I stood up. For 5 years, I've watched Harper steal. Every month, Christina and I documented it. Every fake invoice, every pocketed security deposit, every lie. We let it continue because Grandpa wanted to see how far she'd go. I looked around the table at my family, at Mom and Dad, who'd spent my entire life favoring Harper, at my aunt and uncle, who'd always treated me like I was less important than my twin, at my cousins, who joined in the cheering when Harper announced I'd contributed nothing. The properties have been mine since 2018, I said. I've been the legal owner for 5 years. I've paid all property taxes. That's $247,000. I've funded all legitimate repairs and renovations, another $180,000. I've been the actual owner while Harper was the thief pretending to be the manager. James pulled out more documents. The current portfolio value is approximately $4.6 million. Monthly rental income is $28,000. All of it legally belongs to Mira and has for nearly 5 years. This can't be legal, Dad protested. There has to be a way to contest this. The trust is irrevocable, James said patiently. That's what irrevocable means. It cannot be undone, modified, or contested. William Patterson had every legal right to dispose of his property as he saw fit. Any attempt to challenge this will result in expensive legal fees and certain failure. Harper was crying now, real tears, not the performed grief from Grandpa's funeral. Please, she whispered. Please don't press charges. I'll pay it back. I'll work it off. I'll do anything. Pay it back with what money? I asked. The $537,000 is gone. Spent on cars and trips and handbags. You don't have assets to seize. You're $40,000 in credit card debt and 3 months behind on your rent. Harper's mouth opened and closed. She had no answer. Christina closed her briefcase. Mira has 48 hours to decide whether to pursue criminal prosecution. If she chooses not to, Harper will sign a confession and restitution agreement acknowledging the theft and agreeing to a payment plan. If she refuses to sign or if she violates the agreement, the confession becomes evidence in a criminal case. She handed Harper a document. This is the confession. Read it carefully. You have until Saturday to sign it. Harper stared at the paper like it might bite her. I picked up my purse. I'm leaving now. Christina and James will answer any legal questions you might have. But understand this, the properties are mine. They've been mine for 5 years. That's not changing. I walked toward the door. Behind me, Mom's voice was shrill. You're destroying this family. I turned back. Harper destroyed this family when she stole $500,000 from a man who loved her. I'm just making sure she doesn't destroy Grandpa's legacy too. We're your parents. Dad shouted. You owe us respect. I owed you honesty, I said quietly. Which is what I gave you. Harper's the one who lied for 5 years. Be angry at the right person. And then I left, Christina and James following me to the driveway where we'd planned to regroup. Behind me, I heard shouting, crying, chaos. In front of me, I saw freedom. I didn't go home. Instead, I drove to one of the rental properties, the duplex on Pearl Street, and sat on the porch in the cold November night. My phone started ringing within minutes.
Mom. Dad.
My aunt. Unknown numbers. I turned it off. Christina texted. You did the right thing. The evidence is irrefutable. James texted. They can't touch the trust. It's bulletproof. I sat in the cold and processed what had just happened. The confrontation I'd been preparing for 5 years. The moment when Harper's theft was finally exposed. The look on everyone's faces when they realized I'd been the owner all along. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it just felt sad. Over the next week, the family implosion was complete and spectacular. Harper signed the confession on Friday. She didn't have a choice. The alternative was criminal prosecution and prison time. The restitution agreement required her to pay $2,000 per month for the next 22 years to repay the $537,000 she'd stolen. Given her actual financial situation, those payments would probably never materialize. But the signed confession meant I could pursue criminal charges if she ever came after the properties or tried to claim she'd been wronged. Her landlord evicted her for non-payment of rent. The Audi was repossessed. She moved back in with Mom and Dad at age 32, her life in ruins. Mom and Dad were furious. At me. Not at Harper for stealing. At me for being vindictive and ruining Harper's life. You could have handled this privately. Mom screamed over a voicemail. You didn't have to humiliate her in front of the whole family. I didn't respond. My aunt sent a long email about how family should forgive family, and I was destroying relationships over money. I deleted it unread. What I did do was take full, public control of the properties. I fired Harper's property management company, which had been complicit in some of the theft by accepting her fake invoices. I hired a professional firm that reported directly to me. I changed every lock on every property. I sent letters to all tenants explaining the ownership change and providing new payment instructions. And I kept building. I sold the smallest single-family home for $620,000 and used the proceeds to buy a small commercial property in downtown Boulder. I renovated 2 more units in the apartment building, increasing their value and rental income. I raised rents to market rates, not gouging, but fair market value. The portfolio grew to $4.9 million. Monthly rental income increased to $31,000. 6 months after Thanksgiving, Harper reached out. A text message. Can we talk? I agreed to meet her for coffee. Public place, neutral ground. She looked terrible. Thinner, older, defeated. The sparkle that had always made her the center of attention was gone. I'm sorry, she said as soon as we sat down. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need to say it.
I'm sorry.
I said nothing. I started taking the money because I felt entitled to it, Harper continued, her voice shaking. Grandpa gave you the bookkeeping work. He paid for part of your college. I thought I deserved more, so I just took it. You took $537,000, I said flatly. I know. She looked down at her coffee. It became an addiction. Every month I'd tell myself I'd stop, but then I'd need money for something and it was so easy. And I justified it by saying I was doing the real work, managing the properties, dealing with tenants. I convinced myself I'd earned it. You didn't, I said simply. I know that now. Harper wiped her eyes. I've destroyed everything. My apartment, my car, my reputation. Mom and Dad barely speak to me. And you. She looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. You were my twin. My other half. And I stole from you. From Grandpa. From everyone who trusted me. I felt nothing. No sympathy, no anger, just emptiness. I don't forgive you, I said quietly. Maybe someday I will.
But not now.
What you did, it wasn't a mistake. It was 73 months of deliberate choices. 73 months of looking Grandpa in the eye and lying to him while you stole his money. Harper nodded, accepting it. But I'm not going to press charges, I continued. Not because you deserve mercy, but because Grandpa wouldn't want our family name attached to a criminal trial. The confession stands. If you violate the restitution agreement or ever try to claim any part of the properties, I'll turn it over to the DA immediately. I understand, Harper whispered. I stood up. I hope you get help. I hope you figure out who you are when you're not performing for everyone. But that journey is yours to make. I can't help you with it. I left her sitting there, crying into her coffee. 3 years after that Thanksgiving dinner, I stood on the roof deck of my new building, a mixed-use property I developed in Boulder with retail space on the ground floor and apartments above. It was my first ground-up development, and it had just been featured in a Colorado real estate magazine. The original 6 properties were now worth $5.4 million. I'd added 3 more properties to the portfolio, bringing the total to 9. Monthly rental income, $41,000. Annual net income, $385,000. But more than the numbers, I'd built something real. A property management company with 4 employees. A reputation as a fair but firm landlord. A portfolio of properties that provided quality housing at reasonable prices. I'd also started a scholarship fund in Grandpa's name for first-generation college students studying accounting or business. The first recipient was a young woman from a working-class family whose story reminded me of my own journey. My relationship with my parents remained fractured. We were civil at unavoidable family events, but the warmth was gone. They'd chosen to defend Harper's theft rather than acknowledge my 5 years of silent integrity. That told me everything I needed to know. Harper had gotten a job as a bank teller. Ironic, given her theft conviction would have prevented her from working in finance if I'd pressed charges. She was slowly rebuilding her life, though we rarely spoke. The twin connection that once defined us was broken, probably permanently. My younger cousins had reached out, though. They'd been teenagers at that Thanksgiving dinner, and as they'd matured, they'd started asking questions about what really happened. I'd shown them the evidence, explained the timeline, helped them understand that sometimes family members do terrible things, and it's okay to acknowledge that. Last week, Christina called. I have something for you, she said mysteriously. We met at a coffee shop, and she handed me a check for $24,000. What's this? I asked. Remember the fake property management software Harper claimed to have purchased? I tracked down the company she allegedly bought it from. Turns out they were running a scam, taking payments for software that didn't exist. They've been shut down and their assets seized. This is your portion of the restitution fund. I stared at the check. It was a tiny fraction of what Harper had stolen, but it felt significant somehow. A piece of justice recovered. There's more, Christina said, smiling. I've been approached by 3 other families dealing with similar situations. Adult children stealing from elderly parents through property management schemes. They want to hire me to investigate. I'm thinking about specializing in this area. You should, I said immediately. How many other Harpers are out there, stealing from people who trust them? We talked for an hour about her plans, about the patterns she'd noticed, about the importance of documentation and early intervention. As I drove home, I thought about that Thanksgiving dinner 3 years ago, about Harper announcing that I'd contributed nothing, about Christina walking in with that briefcase full of evidence, about the moment everything changed. I didn't regret it, not for a second, because Grandpa had trusted me with more than just properties. He'd trusted me with the truth. And when the moment came, I'd honored that trust by refusing to let theft be disguised as inheritance. Some people deserve what they're given. They earn it through loyalty, integrity, and work. Others just take what they want and call it their due. Knowing the difference, and having the courage to expose it, that was Grandpa's final gift to me. The $5.4 million portfolio was just the proof.